Hey everybody, Rosemeadow here. Welcome to part 29 of my Chaos Head Noah Let's Play. In the last episode, we started Senna's ending, and unlike the previous ones, it feels like things are happening rather quickly, actually, in terms of like the characters are actually doing stuff. In this case, Senna, she wants to go right into the Nozomi headquarters with Takumi. She agreed to help him with Shogun, but she says, but you're going to help me get into the Nozomi headquarters. So they get there. Some delusions are played. They fall for it. They are trapped by the committee of 300 members. The big explosion or the big earthquake happens, and they are now trapped, but it seems like they are about to be saved by someone that I'm pretty sure is Senna's dad, Hatano. So that is where we left off. I definitely think we're going to be able to finish her ending today, so let's go ahead and do that and see what I think of this ending in comparison to the previous one. So let's get into it. Oh, there we go. My field of vision was suddenly overwhelmed with light. The small pieces of rubble surrounding us began to crumble. Senna raised her head in shock. A hand reached toward us from above, peeking through a gap in the rubble.
無事か、セナ。
That hand began to pull Senna up through the debris. As it did, the crevice beneath the rubble widened, and once her weight was lifted off of me, I could finally move again. I crawled out of the gap that had been made by Senna's body. It was the room in the Nozomi building, the very same room we'd been trapped in.
君もノロセ同様に我らが使ってやろうと言っているのにそれを拒否するとは統治側ではなく家畜として生きるのが望みかね
Almost all of the monitors that had been hanging from the ceiling had crashed to the floor, leaving all of their screens broken. Naturally, nothing was displayed on them anymore. Even the walls and various other chunks of the room were beginning to collapse. But all in all, the room wasn't anywhere near as bad as I expected it to be. I'd assumed we'd been buried alive, but there wasn't even that much rubble. In hindsight, I probably could have escaped if I'd tried to. I felt like such an idiot for being too scared to move.
セナ。
Senna was facing a man I'd never seen before. He was wearing a ragged coat that complemented his cloudy eyes. Overall, he looked like your typical homeless man. I had the feeling I'd met him somewhere before, but I couldn't remember where. Maybe we had passed each other in Shibuya at some point. Aside from the two of them, there was no one else there. The voices of the people who had trapped us, the member of the House of Representatives, and the Cosmic Church's founder, must have come from a speaker somewhere in the room.
おや畑野やどうやら親子で感動の対面を果たしたようだね
Daughter? That man was Senna's father? I had definitely heard Senna say the name Hatano before.
せいぜい再会の喜びでも語っているがいい。そしてそこから眺めているのだな。世界が変革していく様を。
ノア2をフル稼働させれば渋谷だけでなく世界中のすべての人間に作用を及ぼすことが可能だ。そのネットワークはすでに構築され
Suddenly, the voice from the speaker was cut short. And then, a series of strange sounds came through it, which meant their power hadn't been cut off. Something was wrong. Oh, that's Norase coming in and shooting them.
今のって。銃声。
After the gunshots came the raspy sounds of a man breathing raggedly.
バカな。こんなはずでは。私はこれから統治者に。
A final deathly scream, then, with a dull click, the audio was cut short once more, and the speaker fell silent. An oppressive silence covered the room. What had just happened?
殺されたんじゃ。
殺された？誰に？
知らないよ。
Two voices were being broadcast from somewhere else, and the audio was coming out of the speakers. So how close were they to the room we were in? At the very least, they had to be somewhere in the building. Taking that into consideration, the culprit who killed those two had to be close by.
逃げようよ。殺人鬼がここに来るかも。
だから、殺人鬼って誰だ？なんであの二人は殺された？いや、殺されたと判断した根拠は？
落ち着け、
セナ。
お前には聞いてない。
悲鳴聞いたでしょ。殺されたとしか思えないよ。
Who'd kill them? Shogun? But wait, wasn't Shogun supposed to be a member of Nozomi? No, 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 that was just an assumption on my part. There was no evidence proving he had anything to do with them.
逃げるのは少し面倒だ。このビルは崩れかかっている。あちこちに歪みが生じている。私がこの部屋に入ってきた直後に、入り口が瓦礫で塞がれてしまった。
It was just as Hatano said, but I had this nagging feeling, one that told me, considering the way the walls and everything around us had collapsed, there was way more debris than there should have been. I had a bad feeling about this. Well, it wasn't like I'd ever been to an abandoned building before, so I couldn't exactly judge the relationship between the way a room collapsed and the amount of rubble produced. The only thing I knew for sure was that we'd managed to escape being buried alive, but the fact we were still locked in hadn't changed.
ディソードで壊せばいい。
It finally occurred to me the bizarre resonant sound from earlier had finally stopped. Maybe the earthquake had destroyed the device that had been the source. I think it was called a porter. If that were true, then Senna might be able to get us out of here. I breathed a sigh of relief and waited to hear Senna's brilliant plan of escape. However, she didn't take out her D-sword. She simply continued to stare at Hatano-san.
あの二人と何を話していた？
昔話だ。互いに分かり合うことのできない。ね。
分かり合うことのできない。本当にそうか。今でもつながりがあるんじゃないのか。この半年、どこで何をしていた？今になってこの場所に都合よく現れたのはなぜだ？このビルのどこかで私たちをモニタしていたからじゃないのか？
私はこの半年、渋谷を徘徊していただけの死にたがりだ。天聖振興会にも、のぞみテクノロジーにも戻るつもりはない。
Senna gave a light click of the tongue and turned toward me.
あの二人が殺されたと思う根拠は？
それはだから。
彼らは敵が多い。
Hatano stepped in.
誰に殺されても納得できる。
お前には聞いてないと言っているだろ。
でもほら、悲鳴とか銃声が聞こえて。
本当にそうか？単なる演技の可能性は？そもそもスピーカーから聞こえていたあの二人の声はリアルタイムのものか？
What was she talking about?
地震対策がしっかりしてる日本で、のぞみグループという日本を代表する巨大企業の本社ビルがこれほどの地震被害を受けている。それだけとんでもない地震が起きたということだ。そんな状況でなぜあの二人はこの部屋のスピーカーでベラベラと裏事情を話してくれたんだ？
Senna painstakingly enunciated her each and every word, as if to make sure I knew exactly what I was claiming. Classified information? What, like Noah 2 into the third melt? Not that I knew anything about them either way.
これ見よがしに感じる。奴らは裏事情を私たちに意図的に聞かせる必要があったのかもしれない。あの二人は実在しているのか？地震が起きる前にすでに死んでいた可能性は？西条、私もお前もこのビルに乗り込んでからあの二人とは一度も会っていない。そうだな。
でもモニターで喋ってた。
モニターの中でだろ？実際に会ったわけじゃない。あんなものいくらでも細工できる。スピーカーについても言うまでもない。何か変だ。不可解だ。それに私は。
Hatano, staring at me with wide eyes, interrupted Senna.
西条、匠君。君がそうなのか。そうか。君が。
動くな。
Senna, in response to being ignored, called out to Hatano-san in a sharp voice.
もう一度聞く。お前はなぜここにいる？
お前たちを助けに来た。 いや、殺されに来たというのが本心かもしれない。
心配しなくてもすぐに殺してやる。でもその前に、質問に答えろ。私たちがここにいることをどうして知っていた？
強い心の呼びかけを感じた。
ギガロマニアックスでもないお前がどうしてそれを感じることができるんだ？いや、ギガロマニアックスでさえ心の呼びかけなんていう曖昧な妄想を感知できるのはごく一部だけだ。
Someone like Kozapi, for example. Come to think of it, I wonder how she's doing. Was she caught up in the earthquake? I hope she's safe.
本当に感じたのか？最初から知っていたんじゃないのか？私たちがこの部屋におびき寄せられたことを。
冷静になれセナ。憎しみに心を支配されているぞ。
冷静になれだと？ずっと殺したいと思っていた人間を目の前にして冷静でいられるはずがないだろう。
考えすぎてはいけない。物事は陰謀論ほど複雑ではなく、もっとシンプルだ。
この場にお前が現れるのは都合が良すぎるんだ。最初から仕組まれたことじゃないのか？この部屋におびき出されて監禁された私たち、地震、直後に現れたお前という存在、スピーカーからのこれ見よがしの陰謀論風な演説とその不可解な中断。そもそもこの部屋が望みのビルである確証もない。私たちが気絶している間に別の場所に運び込まれていたとしたら、望みのビルに内装だけ模してある部屋、地震など起きていなくて散乱している瓦礫も人為的に配置したもの。
The more words Senna threw out, the more unsure I became on what to believe. It felt like the very foundation of knowledge I'd always relied on was collapsing, like it was being pulled apart piece by piece.
疑心暗鬼は己を滅ぼす。気をしっかり持て、セナ。
お前に名前を呼ばれたくはない。会話をするつもりもない。質問に答えろ。
地震は起きた。確実にだ。渋谷のあらゆる建物は崩壊しかかっている。死傷者は4桁以上だろう。
それを証明する方法を持っているのか？
その壁を崩してみるといい。お前のディソードで。
Senna threw out her right hand as if she were shaking something off. Her D-sword materialized in an instant. Senna swung it down toward the wall without hesitation. The D-sword smoothly cleaved through the wall like a hot knife through butter. The wall broke down. Immediately after, a fierce, chilly wind blew through the room. Scenery from behind the destroyed wall was laid bare before us. And what we saw there was... Shibuya transformed into literal ruins of death. Just a few hours ago, it had been crowded with people. Flashy videos were playing at an insane volume from various jumbotrons, and it was overflowing with glittering decorations, things all befitting of the city of youth. But now, almost all of the iconic buildings had collapsed, and those that had survived were either leaning at a sharp incline or had violent cracks gradually eroding away at them. Not a single car remained on the road. The asphalt had caved in at multiple points, and had risen up at many others. Pitch black smoke billowed from numerous locations and disappeared into the blackened sky. That was the Shibuya we saw from atop the skyscraper. Senna had only been jumping at shadows, and I was no better. There was no mistaking it. We were still on the 31st floor of the Nozomi building, and an earthquake had occurred. There was no telling when the building we were in would collapse. If the building were to fall, I'd have no chance of surviving. It would end with me being crushed under endless tons of rubble. I could be buried for all eternity, with my body never being found. I needed to get out as fast as humanly possible. Trembling violently, I surveyed the room. Huh? My eyes instinctively honed in on an object, a monitor that had fallen on the floor.
単なる地震でここまで被害が大きくなるはずがない。ノア2か。
そうだ。サードメルト。 ノア2の最終稼働実験だ。
Half of the LCD screen was broken, so nothing was displayed on it. However, the remaining half was tenaciously staying lit. I didn't think it'd be on when I looked earlier, but I wasn't completely sure.
サードメルト。お前も関わっているのか？
言っただろう。私はもう半年以上前に望みから逃げ出した人間だよ。
望みだけじゃない。お前は私や母さんや妹からも逃げたんだ。
ああ、認める。
Only half listening to Senna and Hatano-san's strained arguing, I crouched down in front of the monitor. There were letters on it. Text was being displayed. Oh, Takumi, are you seeing this? What the... a chat room? They'd said my name. Why? Why had they said my name? What did they mean, are you seeing this? The whole thing creeped me out. Who'd written it? Their handle seemed to be corrupted. How did they know my name? How did they know I was in this building, let alone this very room? Maybe it was Grim? I'd never asked him before, but what if he was actually some crazy super hacker all along? Hey, it's Daru, super hacker! Or maybe it was Shogun, like usual. Was he reading my mind again, prepping to give me my next quest? The sight of Nanami covered in blood resurfaced in my mind. Right, Nanami was being imprisoned somewhere. This was in any way related to Nanami. She could be killed if I didn't respond to this message. I crouched down to the keyboard that had fallen down near the monitor and let out a single groan. I had no idea whether or not the keyboard was actually connected to the monitor. All I could do was pray it would work. And so, I pressed the N key. My input was reflected on the monitor. It seemed like I could use the keyboard to type in chat after all, under the temporary handle guest. I replied with N, i.e. no, since their message hadn't clarified what I was supposed to be seeing. What was I supposed to be seeing? Since I didn't know that yet, I couldn't answer yes until I knew more. Nanami's life could be at stake, so I had to be even more careful than usual. You responded to our query, so I believe it's safe to assume you are seeing this. Another message arrived. I'm grateful we were able to establish contact with you. We are the Committee of 300. Wait, so it wasn't Shogun. It was the Committee of 300. I'd heard that name over and over today. Those old guys that had supposedly been killed earlier. Kuromochi and Inohana had both said they were part of the Committee of 300.
西条、どうした？
Senna peeked over my shoulder at the monitor.
なんだそれは。
わからない。僕に名指しで呼びかけてきて。
Aoi Senna, you two are being monitored by us. All three of you are. Nishijo Takumi, Aoi Senna, and Hatano Issei. Alarmed, both my gaze and Senna snapped to the ceiling. Were they watching us with security cameras? There were several things in the room that looked like cameras, but all of them had been destroyed by the earthquake, and therefore weren't working. The other monitors were completely silent, too.
そいつ何者だ？
We are the Committee of 300, as our introduction already provided.
300人委員会だと証明することはできるのか？西条、そう打ち込め。
I mean, I think they can hear you, the fact that they're responding before, like, even though you're not typing anything. Before I could even start typing, another message appeared. You needn't type. You are being monitored in real time. However, not by traditional means. There are no surveillance cameras present in the room. The devices of your world are unnecessary, at least to us. To put it simply, understand we possess the viewpoint of God, seeing all from the higher order layer of being. There's no possible way for you to verify the system, nor even the concept. In a similar manner, we regrettably have no means by which to validate us as the Committee of 300. You simply will have to go by our word.
ノア2の攻撃？それともギガロマニアックスからの妄想攻撃か？西条、こいつが将軍の可能性は？
There was no way I could figure that out with how little we'd been given. I shook my head from side to side. To her, it probably looked like I was about to cry. Senna responded with an irritated click of her tongue.
さっき、イノハナと倉持を殺した殺人鬼じゃん。
いや、むしろ可能性が一番高いのは、こいつがイノハナか倉持のどちらかということだろう。300人委員会を名乗ってるぐらいだしな。
Senna proceeded to point to the tip of her D sword at Hatano-san. She one-handed the gigantic, viciously sharp sword with incredible ease.
あるいは、 お前の差し金による罠かもしれない。
私がこのような細工をする意味はない。
Squatting down to look at the monitor was tiring out my legs, and reading the text in the dark was equally taxing. To combat this, I shoved some debris off of a table and placed the monitor on top of it.
倉持と井ノ花以外の300人委員会メンバーかもしれない。何しろ300人いるのだから。
いずれにせよ、こいつが本物ならという前提がつく。自分から名乗る黒幕はドラマや映画の中だけだ。
本物か偽物かという判断は、今はそれほど優先されるべきことではない。重要なのは、この自称300人委員会メンバーが、井ノ花と倉持を殺した殺人鬼なのか、そうでないかだ。
Indeed, we disposed of Inohana and
こい
Kuramochi.
つが犯人。
So those two really were killed. They sought to betray us, you see. Of course, we disposed... oh my gosh. I'll wait for it to finish.
委員会メンバー同士の内部抗争か。
Okay. They sought to betray us, you see. Of course, we have long been aware of their breach of faith. They were not disposed of because they were considered a threat, for the odds of their plan bearing fruit were null. It's simply necessary to eliminate programs that contain errors. This was merely some debugging, essentially.
倉持たちがモニターしていた部屋からコンタクトしてきているかもしれない。
でもだったらなんでスピーカーを使わないの？
声を聞かれたくないからだろう。正体を知られたくないんだ。
僕らの知ってる誰かなの？
書き込んでいる男はかなり慎重だということだよ。
Why do you assume it's a man?
いや、男かどうかも不明
And
だ。
again, I can see the Committee of 300 being very, like, boys club, no women allowed. Yeah, there we go. I suppose we can't assume their sex.
この書き込みをしているのが井ノ花か倉持で単なる自作自演だとしたら、
井ノ花と倉持の2人での仲違いだというのか？
そうかもしれないし、実は2人とも生きていて私たちを騙しているだけかもしれない。
騙す意図について推測できているのか？
Okay.
だったら何者だって言うんだ。神だとでも言うつもりか。
We would prefer if you didn't misunderstand. Neither Kuromochi nor Inohana were members of the Committee of 300. They were merely under the impression they were, and it was us who implanted the idea within them. They proved convenient pawns in our guise. The same can be said for all those involved in the Committee of 300 conspiracy theory. Us true members have yet to take the stage. Even if we were considering doing so, that much is not possible, for we do not exist in your world.
このチャット相手との議論はしない方がいいかもしれない。相手の意図が不明だ。言葉しか見えないのでは、いくらでもフェイクの情報を織り交ぜることができる。
The advice was solid, but the text on the monitor kept appearing rapidly. I couldn't get a read on the guys behind the handle. They knew a terrifying amount of information about us. Calling us God would be appropriate. We are the 300, each of us with our own assigned districts. We are those who administer your world. Our administration aims to erase errors and establish order. Right as I finished reading everything they had written up until that point, an idea suddenly popped into my head. It was something I had thought about many times before.
あなたはゲームマスターっていうこと？
He's gonna be like, this is all a game. This is the fourth wall breaking one where he's like, we're all in a game.
ゲームマスター？どういう意味だ？
演出で言えば開発者側ってこと。もっとわかりやすく言うなら中の人だよ。
ちっともわからないぞ。
Rubbing her temples, a sour look crossed her face. Kids these days. Nishijo Takumi's explanation is accurate. We are the game masters who administer the progression of this MMORPG. You are all players, or perhaps NPCs. He's like, yes, I'm in a video game. It's happening. This is what I've always imagined was my life, an NPC. Video game terminology short for non-player character, a term used in tabletop RPGs that have recently been adopted into online games. As the name suggests, it is a character that is not controlled by a player. The theory I'd had delusions upon delusions about have been true all along. There was a person outside my reality controlling me, just like how I controlled Neinhard. Someone was controlling me in the same way.
だったら僕の中の人に言っ
I'm
てよ。
sorry, I can't.
キャラメイキングを今
Not
すぐ
that
や
type
り
of
直せっ
game.
て。もっと僕を操作する腕を上げろって。
I shouted that at the monitor. I felt Senna's puzzled gaze land on my back. The reason we have established contact with you is because we have a
Cheat code?
request. If you agree to cooperate, we have prepared a cheat code as compensation.
すごいぞ。チートは裏技みたいなものだよ。円数で言えば、そのコードを入力するだけでレベル1だったキャラを一瞬でレベル50にできたり、あとはドロップ率 0.025% の超レアアイテムを何の苦労もせずにいきなり手に入れたりできるんだ。もしチートコードがあるなら、僕はもう弱っちい肝オタじゃなくなるんだ。本当の勇者になれるかも。三次元女子とも気取らずに喋られるようになる。
This was the exact epic plot moment I'd been hoping for. Becoming the strongest and most popular character without any actual effort. I'd be totally OP. Oh, we all know what OP is, overpowered. Used when referring to a character ability or some other thing in a game that's too powerful compared to everything else. Players often complain whenever faced with something they consider overpowered, but when they themselves find themselves using something of a similar level, they remain silent. After all, it's incredibly exhilarating to be in a position where you can trounce enemies left and right with no real difficulty. Holy shit, this is actually happening. The Committee of 300 are actual fucking gods, but like actually, this is so fucking awesome sauce. Holy shit. Net slang, a degradation of the word god used to refer to extremely respected figures, similar to god tier, a way of referring to something as if it were on the level of god.
それがチートコードだとして本当にあると思うのか？このチャット相手は高次存在らしいが、そんな神のような存在が私たちと同じ言葉や用語を使っているのはなぜだ？これは罠だ。
Unfortunately, your conjecture proves incorrect. I assure you our usage of familiar terms to you is fully intentional. The words we frequently make use of do not exist in your world. Your belief or lack thereof lies with you. Choose not to believe us, and we will resort to entertaining other methods. I wanted to believe them. I didn't want to continue living in fear any longer. If I was able to get a power even stronger than Shogun's, I'd be able to live in peace. We are grateful for your cooperation, Nishijo Takumi. We would like you to eliminate an error for us. What you three know as Noah 2, it has the capacity, or the capability, to severely disrupt the balance of the game, and in the worst case scenario, it may cause crashes or even wipe your game data entirely. Alright, at the present time, Noah 2 has effectively forced your world into autistic mode. In other words, it accepts only minimal interference from us. The game masters cannot directly intervene in the game. In the end, we are nothing more than your administrators. In order to eliminate errors, we require your cooperation.
口から出任せにしか思えない。直接介入できないというなら、どうやって胃の鼻と倉持を排除した？
We have other cooperators. You may think of them as debuggers. However, none of them hold the power necessary to destroy Noah
私たちを
2.
利用したいだけだろ。
For this, we require the cooperation of gigalomaniacs. Call it whichever you wish. We will not deny it. However, we are confident our interests align.
確かに。
巧妙だな。一連の書き込みを見ていると、300人委員会は実在しているとも、実在していないとも取れる。これがノア2による攻撃である可能性もある。
でも、胃の鼻と倉持がノア2を使って300人委員会を裏切ろうとしてたのは本当のことだったじゃないか。あいつら自身がそう説明してたよ。
あの時点から妄想による攻撃が始まっていたとしたら、さっきも言っただろ。モニターやスピーカーで喋っていた胃の鼻と倉持が本物である証拠は一つもない。
さっきからセナは疑ってばかりじゃないか。
この状況で信じられるのは自分だけだ。
Sometimes
世
you
界
can't
は
even
全て
trust
電気仕掛
yourself.
けで、電気信号に細工するだけで簡単に見ているものを捏造できる。ここから見える崩壊した渋谷の光景も、この瓦礫だらけの部屋も、300人委員会を名乗る存在からの書き込みも、今この場でこうして話している西条や、
Sana shot a glance at Hatano-san.
この男ですらも偽物かもしれないんだ。
セナ。
If your mind is but an electronic device and your feelings electronic signals, then the hatred you feel toward your father must also be programmed in. This applies to human death as well. Therefore, you have no need to feel any more of the sadness you feel over the cruel deaths of your mother and younger sister. Do you deny this? Oh, they're getting personal. Senna gritted her teeth. Her expression grew angrier and angrier.
これは妄想だ。私の心への攻撃だ。惑わされないぞ。
She's gonna destroy the monitor. Well, then, here's our proposition. If you succeed in destroying Noah too, we shall revive your mother and younger sister. Oh.
セナ。言葉に流されるな。この書き込みが精神攻撃かもしれないと言ったのは、お前自身だ。
でも、
チートコードなら可能かも。何しろ相手は神だし。
All things that make up the world are electronic devices. You said so yourself, Aoi Senna.
本当なのか。
If you were to examine electronic devices at a more conceptual level, you'd find they are composed merely of digital data. Concepts such as life and death are just more fabrications. Bringing a person back from death exactly as they were, with all their memories intact, would present no trouble at all. For us game masters, that is.
判断を誤るな。お前はそう信じたいだけだ。現実に蘇ることなど
It's a good thing this is a video game, huh?
うるさい。お前は黙ってろ。
心の負い目につけ込まれているぞ。相手は巧妙だ。こいつは神などではない。今確信した。ただの詐欺師だ。神は自己完結した存在でなければならない。生死の概念そのものを持ち合わせていないし、理解できない。そういう存在だ。
黙れと言ってるだろ。お前の宗教観は聞いてない。
Senna's D sword once again found itself pointed at Hatano-san.
元はといえばお前がいけないんだ。お前が母さんを殺しさえしなければ。
その償いはするつもりだ。私を殺しても構わない。むしろ私はそれを望む。だから母さんを蘇らせようなどという虚言を信じるな。
そうやって逃げようとするのが一番許せないんだ。
Oh, for fuck's sake, now wasn't the time for some father-daughter screaming match. Maybe I should just leave these two behind. Then I could go and take the cheat code for myself.
今決めた。お前は殺さない。ノア2を破壊して母さんが生き返ってもお前には合わせない。そして一生後悔し続けろ。
どこまでも純粋だな、セナ。感情に突き動かされながら電気仕掛けの世界を願うか。お前は矛盾している。すまない。私がお前をそうさせてしまった。
父親面をするな。今さらそんな顔しても私はお前を認めない。
I like the idea of just Takumi just slowly backing out of the room and sneaking away while they're having their big blowout.
おい、私たちを見ているお前。
Senna looked toward the ceiling and shouted out.
チートコードの入手方法を教えろ。
Hatano-san said nothing more. All he did was stand there with a sad look on his face. His shoulders sagged. It seems you finally come to your senses. The cheat code has already been sent to your world. However, that being said, our ability to interfere freely has been inhibited.
鍵は
We were not able to place it where you are now. We must ask you to retrieve it for us. It is located underground in Shibuya Station. You will find it in a coin locker near the ticket gate of the Fukutoshin line. It has been placed in locker 1009. Aoi-senna, you possess an IC card for public transportation, yes? The
さす
coin
が
locker is the
神
type which uses
用
an
意がい
IC
い
card to lock, authenticate, and give payment. The required data has already been sent to Aoi-sena's card.
チートコードってどんな形をしてるの？
That is something not even we know. Whatever item present in your world that it is taken the form of is unimportant. Regardless of its form, once you obtain the code, the moment you fulfill the condition, the cheat code will activate. To fulfill the condition, you simply need to destroy the item it's been taken the form of. The target Noah 2 is located directly above the coin locker. It can be found in the planetarium near the east entrance of Shibuya Station. Upon obtaining the cheat code, you must destroy the planetarium, and with that, everything will fall into place. We pray for your success. I bet. Okay. So they're saying that you have to, it's in it. The thing is in a coin locker that she has to, maybe it's because, okay, spoilers, minor spoilers for, Like a Dragon, because I don't know why I thought of this, because it's like you have to destroy an item in order to obtain the cheat code. I bet it's like to fuck with her. I bet it's her baby sister. That's what I'm guessing. It's like in order to bring your mom back, you have to kill your sister. But it also said we could bring your mom and your sister back, but she keeps talking about bringing her mom back. That's just my guess. The monitor immediately went black. With only a dull click, the committee was gone, even though we hadn't touched a thing. I was overflowing with excitement. I met God, the person controlling me. Because I'm trying to think, like, what's something small enough that could fit in a coin locker? I've seen a game where they put a baby into a locker. That's my thought. The world turned out to be structured in a multi-layered fashion, and I was able to talk to someone on a higher layer. I could get a real-life cheat code. I could say farewell. God, I'm talking like Takumi and just stumbling over my words. I could say farewell to my shitty life forever. I'd become invincible. Nobody, and I mean nobody, would be able to scare me anymore. Shogun, Yua, and Nozomi technology would no longer be my enemies. Who's to say he's the one who's getting the cheat code? It seems like Senna's going to be the one to get it. I'd won. I'd won at life. I wanted to head for Shibuya Station immediately. I wanted to get my hands on that cheat code as soon as possible. But despite that, Senna continued to waste time. She kept her sword pointed directly at Hatano-san. Her head hung low.
セナ、行かないの？
Senna, hearing my call, let out a small sigh and lowered her sword. Without so much as a glance at Hatano-san, she walked straight past me, and then she casually swung her D-sword. And with that, the rubble blocking our path was cleanly dispersed.
Equal.
She spoke in a subdued voice, one that was far removed from the rage she'd been showing only a moment prior. It's like she knows her dad is right, but she wants to believe so badly she can bring her mom back. Hatano Issei watched his daughter and Nishijo Takumi leave until they fell out of sight, and once they did, he took a seat in the middle of the rubble. I wished to talk with God for just a moment longer. As he became the last remaining person in the room, he said those words into the air. His daughter, Senna, had looked like she had something to tell him, but instead she'd simply thrown a sharp glare his way, only to click her tongue, turn her head away, and leave without saying a word. Nothing had escaped Hatano's lips either.
300人委員会まだ見ているのか
He faced the silent, pitch-black monitor and called out to it. There was no response for a while, leaving Hatano to continue staring emptily at the monitor. Eventually, the screen roared back to life, displaying the chat log from before. Yes. It responded with Y, meaning yes.
なぜセナと西条匠なんだ
With Shibuya in its current state, they were the gigalomaniacs we had the
300
highest likelihood of establishing contact
こ
with.
ちらの世界はどのような定義なんだ
That is all. There's no ulterior motive
Game.
beyond that.
実験場か牧場か
The worldwide human domestication project is merely the delusion born of a certain selection of conspiracy theorists. As we stated before, we do not directly interfere in your world or intervene. The worldwide human domestication project, a term that would find its way into any discussion about the famous Committee of 300 conspiracy. Those who know of the conspiracy speculate that the Committee of 300 means to establish a one-world government to unify the world, and once they do, they shall guide the world through the creation of a new world order. Aside from a selection of chosen people, all of humanity will be subjected to semi-permanent brainwashing applied via a silent weapon, turning them into mindless slaves. Just like livestock, their flesh, milk, labor, children, and very lives shall endlessly be stolen away by the elite. Should this be realized, it would perhaps be humanity's cruelest, most systematic utopia of all. Unknowingly having their will stolen from them and being automated as livestock, the remains of humanity would be constantly exploited, all while continuing to live their lives in blissful ignorance. As they would have no way to know of their exploitation, they would never raise any objections nor rebel against their circumstances.
世界人間牧場計画が妄想だとしても、沈黙の兵器は妄想ではない。現にノア2が存在している。そして世界は再びお前たちの秩序のもとに置かれるのか。
Okay, that is related to our current
無
era.
自覚の奴隷としてお前たちに搾取され続けるのか。
The error born from you, Nishijo Takumi, and Norosei Genshi. We are putting our best efforts into fixing this error. As Hatano spoke, a horrifying possibility stemming from his own words came to him, and his brow furrowed.
世界人間牧場計画はすでに完了している。最初の質問に答えろ。
Okay, you produce an interesting concept, but that is not quite the right way to put it to correctly express it from the viewpoint of God. You were all already livestock from the moment of this world's inception. Nevertheless, this is nothing but a hypothetical.
300人委員会にとってこちらの世界はゲームなのか実験場なのか牧場なのか。
In response to Hatano, blank fell silent. I'm not even trying to pronounce that. The time has come.
時間時間とは何のことだ。
The Committee of 300 must remain an entity of shadow, one that is spoken of only in conspiracy theories. Anyone who knows too much must be disposed of. Much like Inohana and Kuromochi before you, none of you are exceptions to
瀬名や
this rule.
西条匠も
You three have become pawns the moment we established contact. Pawns fulfill their roles they are given. Oh, and I lost it. The monitor abruptly went black. It was no different than a death sentence.
瀬名
Clamping his teeth down on his lip, Hatano frantically stood up. If he left now, perhaps he'd still be able to catch the two of them before they reached Shibuya Station. He had to tell them that it was a trap. He did not want to let his daughter die, so I'm guessing the cheat code is actually going to be like the activation for something, and it's going to kill them. After killing his wife and second daughter, she was the only family he had left. No matter how much hatred she held for him, all he wanted was for her to live. For this reason, Hatano ran, and yet, in the end, he was not able to escape the Nozomi Technology Building. Oh shit. He's gonna die here. Before he could, the sound of an explosion, combined with a furious vibration, ripped through the building. It was not collapsing due to the earthquake, however. The sound alone told him it was by the hand of man. Well, they did say he had to die too. They're not gonna let him escape. But knowing this did not change his fate. The ground beneath his feet collapsed, and as if the lid had been lifted off the cauldron of hell itself, the earth opened wide and swallowed up the insignificant existence that was Hatano Ise. Going on a walk through Shibuya finally helped things sink in. I finally came to terms with just how horrifying the earthquake that had hit the city truly was. Not a single trace of the once dazzling city remained. The city was dead. Shibuya was now a city of death. Countless unmoving bodies littered the streets, some lying alone, others piled on top of one another. Various sections of the main road were deeply stained with pools of blood. Nothing was alive. Everyone was dead. Everyone. Hatano-san had said something earlier about the casualties being in the thousands, and the sole cause of all the suffering was Noah too. This wasn't a natural disaster. It wasn't any kind of disaster at all. This was an atrocity, a massacre. Sena, who was just a few steps ahead of me, had an intense look of sorrow on her face. Hatano-san hadn't come with us. We'd left him behind at the Nozomi Technology Building. They were father and daughter apparently, but they didn't really act like it. It felt like Sena had some sort of one-sided, intense hatred towards her father. They had mentioned Sena's mother and younger sister during their conversation. What had happened between the two of them? Whatever it was, it must have been what had led to Senna's heart and mind being broken. Despite me wondering that, I didn't plan on asking for some detailed account of what had happened or anything. Not that I knew how to in the first place. Besides, our number one priority at the moment was obtaining the cheat code. Once we had that, I wouldn't need Senna to protect me anymore. I'd be able to live on my own. Suddenly, a rumbling sound came from behind me. Thinking it was another earthquake, I immediately got down on my hands and knees. But the ground wasn't what was shaking. I slowly and cautiously looked behind me, toward where the Nozomi main office we were just in should have been standing. Smoke was pouring into the sky. It looked like the end result of an erupting volcano, and the building that should have been there wasn't. Oh god, had it collapsed? But Hatano-san was still in there. A small whimper escaped Senna's lips. She looked up at the smoke filling the sky in a daze.
どうぞ
After a moment, she noticed my gaze and quickly turned the other way. However, her shoulders continued to tremble.
こんなことなら私がこの手で殺しておくんだった殺しておけば
だったら
Yeah, this is awkward.
あの人も生き返らせればいい。
And then you can kill him. Bring him back to kill him again. Once we got our hands on the cheat code, we could do that. There was no reason we couldn't. As long as we believed what whoever that is had said. We'll just call him God.
殺すために生き返らせるのか非効率的だな
Senna laughed to herself, but her voice was muffled by her tears. I didn't really know what to say to her, so I just hung my head. Senna fought back her tears for a while, but eventually, as if she had made up her mind about something, she started moving forward once again. And now, not a single tear remained on her face. I hurriedly followed after her. Underground Shibuya Station was home to both the Hanzomon line and the newly constructed Fukutoshin line, which had a far more complicated structure to it. There was also a Ginza line platform located 2 floors above ground, but it was still treated as a subway service. Ask pretty much anyone, and they tell you the place was pretty much a dungeon. And not only that, but the earthquake had caused all stairways leading underground to collapse, and now they were all buried in rubble. Senna had been able to use her D-sword to blast away the rubble and clear a path for us, so it hadn't posed much of a problem. But due to the lack of proper lighting, finding the right coin locker had been taking a lot longer than expected. And if that wasn't enough, the air filtration system had stopped, leaving the air disgusting and filled with dust. My coughing refused to stop, to the point where I felt like I was going to die. The stench of death wafting off the scattered corpses didn't help either.
これか
Sana had finally located the coin locker, which was somehow standing tall with no signs of any noticeable damage. To our astonishment and subsequent relief, the locker still had power running to it, something that was made clear by the bright glow of the IC card reader. Please make a selection was displayed on the screen. Retrieve and deposit were the only 2 buttons available.
本当にこんな何の変哲もないロッカーにチートコードが置いてあるのか
The locker had been there since before the earthquake. A whole bunch of customers would have passed through here before us. On a normal day, no one would have paid it any mind. Just how many people actually used lockers like these in the first place? I couldn't imagine there'd be that many. Upon closer inspection, it occurred to me that almost all of the other lockers were buried in rubble. And behind that single closed door was something beyond imagination. Urban legends like that had been floating around for decades. It wasn't especially strange or anything like that. It was fairly grounded in reality, actually. A small container that you could find very easily throughout your ordinary life, housing something extraordinary. That was the idea behind it. When I pushed the retrieve button, a message popped up saying, "Please scan your card."
箱の中に残っているのは希望かあるいは絶望か
Senna dug out her IC card from her pocket and slowly approached the screen. With an electronic beep, the sound of a lock releasing came from the locker. The sound echoed ominously throughout the dead silent underground. Thana and I stood anchored to the spot, and then we both checked our surroundings. We'd at last come face to face with a cheat code. What form it would take, neither of us knew. Please don't let it be something gross or anything gory. Personally, if I had the choice, I'd want it to be a Seraton figure. Yeah, that'd be the best possible outcome. Senna wiped the sweat beading on her brow.
1009番だったな。
The locker we were looking at was the second from the left and third from the top. The door was fairly big, and it had 1009 written on it. Ugh, I'm like so filled with anxiety. I wonder if my prediction's going to be right about what the cheat code is. The locker was ever so slightly ajar. All we could see inside, that slight gap, was uncertain, unending darkness. Senna and I stared at the locker frozen in place. You open it. Even though she didn't say it out loud, I could feel Senna telling me that. Granted, I was doing the same thing. So we were both equally cowardly. Come on, you do it, I told her inside my head. I thought about letting a game of rock, paper, scissors make the decision for us, but it wasn't the time to mess around like that.
セナが
Should open it, was what I was going to say, but I was interrupted.
開けろ、西条。
Senna took a step back and readied her sword.
もしもの場合は、私が援護する。
Also, I'm just going to casually remind you I do have a sword and you should do what I tell you. What the hell do you mean, just in case?
急げ！
I still felt like she was going to stick me with the tip of her sword any second now. My throat went dry from the anxiety. But my recently unearthed hope resurfaced once again. If I surpassed this trial, I could become a hero. With this adage etched upon my heart, I summoned all my remaining courage. I placed my hand on the half-open locker door.
開けるよ。
あ、
I slowly opened the door. Why does this pop up so much when I play these games about I slowly opened the door? They totally know what they're doing with this. Alright, let's see what it is. It opened easier than I expected, and inside I found... Called it! Fucking...
なんだ
Called it. It's a baby. It's her sister. It's her sister. Maybe. It looks like it's a bundled up baby. It could be a head, could be a body part. Could be anything. Senna and I peeked into the locker at a loss for words. A white bundle of cloth. It was bigger than I expected. It looks like a baby size, but right when I reached out to touch it... Yep, fucking called it. Fucking called it. She's gonna have to kill her baby sister, probably, because they said they had to destroy what was in the locker. I pulled my hand back in a panic at the sudden voice. It's no way. It's...
赤ちゃん。
A live baby had been in the locker? I mean, it had been decades since then. Okay. Okay, so it is coming from something, because I'm like, this is not the first time, like I said, in Like a Dragon, there was a whole thing about this, and I feel like there's been other times where there's been the whole, like, story about a baby in a locker, so I guess it does come from, you know, actual real-life experience in Japan. It had been decades since then, but abandoned children being found in coin lockers had been a fairly large social issue at one point. But for it to be happening now? Wait, it didn't matter right now. Where was the cheat code? I double-checked the locker number. It was unmistakably 1009, so that must have meant... Senna gently picked it up as it continued to wail, handling it like a fragile object that would fall to pieces if she let go of it. The baby's cries grew louder and louder. Senna grimaced as her body stiffened and locked in place. She looked at me with pleading eyes.
西条、助けろ。どうしたらいいんだ。
Why ask me? I think you should let it suck on your tits. Yeah. God damn it.
死ね。
Ugh, he's the worst. Her glare pierced through me. Had she overheard my delusion just now?
多分この赤ちゃんがチートコードだよ。
I mean, if we thought about what they said. Yeah, you... Oh, wait. Wait, it says you must destroy the planetarium. I thought you had to destroy what was inside it. Okay, no, it does say we have to destroy it, and then we have to destroy the planetarium. If the baby was the cheat code, it wouldn't activate unless we destroyed it. Destroy it. In other words, kill it. I went silent, and Senna glared daggers at me. She shielded the baby with her arms.
できない。できるわけないだろう。あの地震をこんな暗くて狭い場所でたった一人で生き延びたんだぞ。
それはチー
Oh
トコー
god,
ドだよ。
are they gonna fight between the
地
two
震
of
が起
them?
きた
Where,
後にここに現れたんだ。
where he wants to kill the baby and she's gonna protect the baby? Especially if it reminds her of her sister.
それは人間じゃない。そう見えてるだけで。
But, I mean, I doubt Takumi would have the balls to kill a baby.
あの自称300人委員会の言葉を信じればな。もし違ったら、あるいはもともとここに置き去りにされていたこの子に後からチートコードだけを埋め込んだかもしれないんだぞ。
I cowered at Senna's horrifically menacing look. Even so, I frantically shot back my rebuttal without looking her in the eye.
だってしょうがないじゃないか。それを壊さないとチートが。
If I lost to Senna here, I'd end up losing the cheat code, and I'd stay an otaku freak for the rest of my miserable life.
この子に触ってみろ西条。この子のぬくもりを感じてみろ。こんな小さい子、お前は殺せるのか？
Of course I can't. I'm completely harmless. That's why you need to do it, Senna. But I couldn't actually say any of that.
セナは矛盾してる。ここに来るまではやる気満々だったじゃないか。世界は電気仕掛けなんでしょ。だったらその子も単なる人形だ。
でも泣いてる。
Senna gently embraced the baby. She had such a tender and loving expression on her face. I couldn't believe she was the same ill-tempered girl from before.
この子は今泣いてるんだ西条。
She was a total mess. Had Senna just been a complete fucking schizo all along?
チートを発動させて
Called having
ノア2
empathy?
を壊さな
Takumi?
きゃ君の家族だって生き返らないぞ。なんでためらうんだよ。
この子は生きているからだ。殺せない。私には。
だったら自分が殺して
Ah,
あげるっ
there's
すよ。
Sua. Of course, Sua always shows up when they're at the, in the underground of the subway station. Oh shit. A thunderous roar. Did he just shoot that baby? Unsure of what had just happened, I reflexively crouched down. Staying like that, I took a look around me and spotted a single silhouette standing outside the Fukutoshin Line ticket gate. They were gripping something that looked like a gun, and they were pointing it in our direction. Senna croaked, and, oh shit, when I looked over at her, I saw her hands covered in blood. But it wasn't hers. It was coming from the baby she was cradling. The white towel the baby was wrapped up in was turning crimson.
死んじゃう。私は見殺しに。
Senna's entire body trembled violently.
相変わらず自分の射撃の腕素晴らしすぎっすよね。
The man continued to walk toward us with the most casual smile on his face. On his back, the man wore a rucksack that clashed heavily with his suit.
こんなところで何の相談してるんすか？っていうかその赤ん坊なんなんす？もしかしてあれっすか？二人の隠し子できちゃった？
Wait.
最近の高
So
校
the
生は
idea
なってな
that
いっすね。
Okay, so either Sua knew what the baby was, whether it was a real baby or not, and just shot it and is just messing with them, or he didn't know what the baby is, just saw a baby and was like, I'm just gonna shoot that baby.
ま、別にどうでもいいっすけど。自分は君たちを始末しに来たんすよ。ノア2の近くで目障りなことされると困るんで。
Was he related to Nozomi? I felt like I'd seen him somewhere before. He was carrying a gun. Normal people don't carry guns. He was gonna kill us. We had to run.
さて、それじゃあまずそっちの危なっかしい通り魔女子高生から始末しましょうかね。
The man raised his gun and pointed it directly at Senna, but she didn't react at all. Still clutching the baby, she had broken down in sobs. All right, this is the time. Come on, Takumi, get that sword. Like you did before with the ISA one. What do I do? We've got the cheat code now. What the hell do I do? I should be invincible now. Is he just gonna like run in front of the gun and then get shot? Be like, damn. Yes, I'm not invincible. There's no way I can protect Senna. If I'm invincible, then I can be reckless and stupid. Be perfectly fine. He could just create a delusion even if the cheat code's not real. He's used a delusion before. If he truly believes it, he can make it real. Oh, well. Yeah, so much for that.
Nishijo?
I had shielded Senna. A fierce pain exploded in my chest, followed by a burning heat that felt like I'd caught on fire. My uniform was stained in blood. I'd been shot.
おーっとかっこいいっすね西条匠くん身を挺して女を守るなんて男の鏡っすでもそれもいつまで持つかな
Each time a gunshot ripped through the air, another bullet opened a hole in my body. And getting shot by Sua, just like the last ending I got. Hopefully it will end better. My blood splattered everywhere. The pain eroded my nerves. Senna was still frozen in place, looking at me with tears in her eyes as she cradled the baby. Over half of the white towel was now covered in a deep shade of red. I could no longer tell if that blood was mine or the baby's.
Nishijo? 違う。このままじゃ。
チートコードを使って。
でも、私、どうしたら。
This wasn't good. I was gonna lose consciousness. It hurts, it hurts, it hurts, it hurts, it hurts, it hurts, it hurts. I never asked to go through pain like this. With the cheat code, I should be invincible. But if Senna doesn't activate it, I'm gonna die. I could feel him getting closer to me. I could sense a sinister bloodlust overflowing from him. Something cold and solid was pushed into my back. It felt like my wounds were being grilled over hot coals as the cold sensation clawed through them.
よく頑張ったっすねでもこれで終わりっすこの至近距離で心臓をズドンとやればさすがのギガロマニアックスでも死亡確定っすから
セナ早く
Senna only continued to cry. This was it. After all that grinding to get the cheat code, none of it mattered in the end.
くたばれクソガキ
Hey, there we go. Come on. Senna, the sensation on my back suddenly disappeared. I thought I'd just been shot, but it wasn't a gunshot that I'd heard. It was the sound of the air itself shaking.
俺の腕が
Did he not realize? Like, he literally said we're gigalomaniacs. Did he not think that Senna wasn't going to pull that sword out? White feathers shimmered and oh! Wait, white feathers. White feathers. That's not Senna. That's Rimi. White feathers shimmered and danced through the air, but we were underground. There shouldn't have been any birds here. Despite my consciousness turning foggy and the pain ripping through my entire body, I slowly managed to turn around. And there I saw... Rimi!
リミ
She always just shows up, and then is she gonna get killed off this time? As like basically as soon as she shows up? Clasped in her hands was a sword so elegant, so beautiful, yet its form was unendingly sinister. I'd never seen anything like it. It was Rimi. Rimi, who had disappeared on me before, was here. She looked at me with a smile filled with sorrow. A large quantity of blood poured from the man's arm. Everything from the elbow down had been severed. The hand holding the gun rolled around on the ground. Had Rimi done that?
のま俺の手をよくは
ナナちゃんにひどいことしたくせに。
リミ
Oh yeah, she's like a hand for a hand. Remy avoided my dumbfounded gaze. She simply stood in front of the man shielding us.
早く外へ。事情は大体理解してるから。ノア2を壊して、葵さん、タク。
That sharp voice brought me back to my senses, but when I tried to move my body, even just a little bit, I was tortured by unrelenting pain. I wanted to collapse on the spot. I didn't want to move. I didn't want to think, but most of all, I didn't want to die. My consciousness was fading. I was fully aware of the blood flowing out of the wounds covering my entire body. Despair and the fear of death threatening to overwhelm me, but I fought them back and held on to Senna's shoulders.
行こう。今のうちに。
すまない。日常。私を、かばって、そんなに血が。
Senna's eyes were clouded with tears. It was the first time I'd ever seen her crying face. I guess even level-headed women like Senna cried sometimes. I noticed something else as I held her shoulders. Her body was incredibly frail. I'm sure it wasn't unique to Senna. It probably applied to all in-real-life girls, really. Her body was slender as well, something guys also didn't share. On a normal day, she exuded an aura of confidence, arrogance, and so much overwhelming vigor it felt like she could crush me with it. But at the end of the day, she really was still a girl. It'll be all right. Don't cry, Senna. If we just use the cheat code, it will heal all these wounds in an instant. It has to. Believing that, I grit my teeth and walked forward. Behind me, I heard the sound of a strange mechanical sound and a shrieking resonance entangling with one another, but I refused to look back anymore. We made it above ground. A trail of blood marked the path we walked. I'd lost a lot of blood. The intense heat I'd been feeling in my wound had been replaced with an unbearable chill. No matter how much I tried to keep it under control, my body kept violently shivering. My teeth wouldn't stop chattering. Looking up, I saw the planetarium standing before us. But the moment I did, I realized something was off. The surrounding buildings had almost entirely collapsed. The ones that were still standing were covered in cracks and fissures. And yet, the planetarium was completely intact. Not only that, but I thought the building was supposed to have been demolished years ago. But it still stood tall in front of me. Why? Why hadn't I realized this until now? Why hadn't I questioned it earlier? Was this because of some gigalomaniac's powers? Or was it Noah 2's doing? At any rate, the reason I noticed must have been because of the cheat code. Now we just needed to activate it, and then we should be able to destroy the planetarium. Without me supporting her any longer, Senna fell to her knees. She was still heartbroken. Even talking was agonizing now. Senna looked back and forth between me and the baby, making her look like she was shaking her head no, but all she did besides that was tremble. I was running out of time. My vision was going blurry. If we didn't activate the cheat code, I was going to die.
日常、しっかりしろ。こんなのって死なないで。お願いだから。なあ、日常。世界は電気仕掛けなんかじゃないんだ。私はただ思い込みたかっただけ。母さんと妹を見殺しにしかできなかった自分が許せなくて、気持ち悪いと吐いてしまった自分が許せなくて、二人が死んだのも父さんがあんなことしたのも全部信じたくなくて、感情だって捨て去りたくて。だけどダメなんだ。どうやったって父さんを憎んでしまうし、母さんや妹の死んだことが悲しいし、自分が許せないし、この子死なせたくないんだ。
Damn it, I couldn't rely on Sun anymore. I had to do it on my own, somehow. I reached out my hand to the blood-stained baby Senna was cradling. Yeah, like she's gonna do that. He keeps talking about the cheat code. She's gonna be like, you're gonna kill that baby. But Senna refused to let go.
もう死んでるよ。
Taking charge, I wrestled Senna's hands away as she looked at me in horror and forcefully grabbed the baby. She broke down crying. Ignoring her wails, I clutched the baby. Cheat code. Activate. Lend me your power. What is he gonna do to that baby? What if he does... Oh, the sword. So from the baby comes the sword? Is that the cheat code? The baby is the sword? Suddenly I noticed it. A strange color, shrouded in faint light. A shining sword was lying at my feet. A D-sword. Forgetting all about the pain, I took hold of it. Despite being so long and gigantic, it was shockingly light. It was almost like I was holding nothing but thin air. I now knew for sure this was a real D-sword. It was no fake. Hot damn cheat code. To think I finally got my hands on a D-sword this easily. Yeah, this easily. Just needed a dead baby. After struggling to get one for so long. Summoning all my remaining energy, I stood up. My wounds hadn't healed, but I was invincible now. Wounds this bad just took a minute to heal, that's all. Senna was utterly useless now. I'd destroy Noah too, myself. Felt power overflowing from deep within. From the very core of my body, it felt like there wasn't anything I couldn't do. I had obtained power rivaling that of God himself. I brandished my sword. My target was the planetarium, illuminated ominously by the surrounding light.
壊してやる。これで終わりに。
And then gets shot. A gunshot echoed through the air. Blood spewed from my chest. Soon after, I was hit with an intense pain. So much for the invincibility. For a moment, I stopped breathing. My vision went black. I had an awful feeling writhing in my depths. In the depths of my throat, the taste of blood spread through my mouth as I coughed violently. Remy, don't tell me that you didn't stop him. Or is this, Narose? That guy from earlier, had he shot me again? Had Remy failed to hold him off? I looked around, only to be absolutely astonished by what I saw. There were tons of people, all crowded around me and Senna. They all had dead eyes, they were all holding guns, and they were all aimed at me. Every single one of them was whispering something.
信仰の救いあれ。信仰の救いあれ。
信仰の救いあれ。信仰の救いあれ。信仰の救いあれ。信仰の救いあれ。
セナ、伏せて。
They all fired in unison. Countless lead bullets penetrated my body, boring out my flesh, slicing through my bones. Like, alright, so either the cheat code does activate, he manages to, like, survive this and take them out, or the moment he gets his sword, he gets killed. Or maybe Senna will actually save me. I was assaulted by impact after impact. My body danced around by an order not my own, just like a marionette. The pain stabbed at my consciousness. I felt like I was going to pass out.
Oh, no.
Even still, I desperately kept standing. My D-sword was still raised high, held aloft in one of my hands. I'll destroy it, I prayed. I'll destroy Noah too. No matter how desecrated my body is, I won't die. I can't die. I swung down. The D-sword drew a trail of red light, a brilliant flash, burst into the night sky. A blade of light tore through the endless night, and descended down upon the planetarium dome below. Only to be deflected by some unseen force.
嘘でしょ。
It was like there had been some sort of invisible wall. The light emitted by the D-sword was reflected, refracted, and dispersed. The building itself also has a cheat code. Silence. Senna, me, and the people who had been shooting at me. We all simply stared, dumbfounded. Even with the cheat, it didn't work? Was Noah too indestructible? I try again. I couldn't let it end like this. I coughed up blood. Greasy sweat stung at my eyes. I could barely feel the pain anymore. My senses were already starting to disappear. My nerves might have been paralyzed. One more swing. I'm strong. I'm the strongest in the world. My strength stat should be so high it should be absolutely OP. So I just need one more swing. I raised my sword overhead.
信仰の
Along with a woman's scream, they fired wildly once again. Senna covered my body with hers. I guess Senna had saved me this time.
私も手伝うよ。
Senna tightly, ever so tightly embraced my blood-soaked body. She grasped the hand I held my D-sword with. Senna's body was so warm. It was closer to hot. It had to be the heat of her blood drawn out by the gunshot wounds she'd suffered just now. The heat of the pulse of life that ran through her body. Are they gonna, like, the power of them together? Are they somehow... I doubt they're gonna be able to take it down. They might just die here.
お前の覚悟ちゃんと分かった。
Or maybe together they'll be able to destroy the building.
壊そう。その子のためにも壊そう。二人で力を合わせてお前だけ死なせない。お前だけ無茶させない。私とお前は運命共同体だ。ずっと一緒だ。死ぬ時も戦う時も一緒だ。もうこんな悲しみの連鎖は止めよう。復活とかそんなのどうでもいい。自然の摂理に反することはするべきじゃない。私はただもう憎しみも悲しみも見たくないんだ。こんな世界を見たくないんだ。お前が傷つくのも
Are they,
見たくないんだ。
the people surrounding us just letting her monologue like this? They're not just gonna... It'd be funny if during the conversation they just shot both of us dead and then that's it.
だから一緒に壊そう。全ての元凶を。
Senna's voice rang throughout my fading consciousness. She had finally come back to her senses. Completely exhausted and covered in tears, she shielded an otaku freak like me, and now she was covered in blood. We were both dyed a deep crimson, but I really did feel her passion. Her voice really did reach me. Together, we raised the D-sword high. I could still hear gunshots firing around us, but that wouldn't stop us anymore. My power was overflowing more than ever before. Felt a strong life force gushing out of Senna. With this godly power, we would destroy the machine that rivaled God on high. This time, for sure, we would.
行くぞ、西条。
I nodded, together with Senna. We swung the D-sword down with all of our strength. And right as we did, a flash of light burst forth. A flash of light that tore the very world asunder. A red light that ripped the night sky in two. A red blade that perhaps might even reach the moon. It blew away everything, turning it all to dust. Together with the invincible barrier surrounding Noah 2, the planetarium was reduced to ashes. A massive impact and shockwave burst through the city. Felt like my body was going to be torn apart. The people standing around us were blown away. Even so, Senna and I held each other upright. We both clutched the baby in our arms, shielding it. We'd used every last drop of power we had. We didn't think about what came next. As long as we had the cheat code, our wounds would heal. So right now all we needed to do was destroy Noah 2. With all of our heart and soul, We let our power erupt. The sounds dissipated, and the light along with it, and in the center of that ruined city of death, Senna and I stood tall. Senna clung to my body, I leaned against hers, and between us we embraced the bloody baby. I couldn't walk another step. I couldn't make the slightest movement. I didn't have an ounce of strength left.
もういいんだ。悲しいけど。もういいんだ。死んだ人を生き返らせるのなんてエゴでしかないから。チートコードは返そう。
I felt the same way. Because we were alive, we had to live on for the sake of those who had died.
ごめん。
Senna softly and gently embraced the bloody baby.
ごめん。死なせてしまって。ごめん。
Senna had cried a lot today, but compared to the usual girl who glared at everyone and everything, the girl whose weakness was on display right now was far more beautiful. Senna's flowing tears were so very beautiful. As those thoughts flowed through my mind, I looked up toward the night sky. Okay, interesting ending. So they actually did manage to destroy Noah 2, and I guess they're going to just survive together and throw away the cheat code, I guess?
エラーはすべて消滅。
Oh,
ノア2と
all right, here we go.
ノー
I
セ健一
was...
の消去も確認したわ。
Okay.
オリジナルの西条匠は確保済み。虫の息だけどね。コピーの西条匠および畑野瀬名は予定通り任務を実行後、共に死んだわ。
Okay.
今後も引き続き調査は続行するけど、おそらく畑野瀬名
So
も西条
Senna
匠も
survived at least, it
エラー
seems.
は生み出さなかったんでしょ。それでいいんじゃない？私の仕事も減ったことだし。
Who's that voice? Have I heard this voice before? Is this like a brand new character? This is like one of the game masters, right? But who is this?
あ、そうそう。ついでに周りをうろちょろしてた天聖信仰会の信者連中も処分しといたから。
Wait a minute. Oh my god, that's... Oh shit, that's... Holy cow, that's the woman. Oh my goodness, that's her, isn't it? The woman who works at the office that helps Bond. Oh my god, what? What?
先畑リミンには逃げられたみたいだけど、まあ、脅威にはならないでしょ。
Oh my gosh. Okay, I clocked Sua pretty early on as, like, you know, being a potential adversary, being a bad guy. I never... Oh my gosh, I never figured she would be, you know, a player in this. What?
世界人間牧場計画の予定には若干の修正が必要ね。
Oh my gosh, I guess it explains why she knows so much information. That is her, right? I can't remember her name.
今回の一連のエラーは計画へと利用を還元できると判断するわ。結果的には300人委員会に何らの不利益も生じない。
Wow, so she was like the one behind everything, it seems like, or at least she's one of the game masters. Holy shit.
了解。デバッガード任務は終了します。以後、監視者の役割に戻るわ。
Oh my god. Wow.
あら、この子、生きてるわね。エラーになっちゃうわ。
I wonder if the baby is the baby going to be like a new copy of Nishijo?
二人が命を与えたのかしら。
Time to kill this baby.
見なかったことにしますか。私は独身だし、子供はちょっと苦手なんだけど。ミルクは手に入るかしらね。この渋谷で。
Wow, that was quite a reveal. Damn. I was like, okay, that one was okay. You know, not my favorite, but that part at the end, I wish I could remember her goddamn name. Momose. That was a wild revelation. Holy cow. Okay. is that just a one-off? Or is Momose going to reveal herself maybe in like the true ending and we have to like take her down? Is she the one behind everything? So like she's the true enemy other than Norose? Like we thought he was going to be like the big baddie. Wow. Okay, so that's gonna do it for the Senna ending. So we only have 2 more to go. Rimi's, and then we have the true ending. So we are gonna be finishing this up soon. The Rimi ending should be interesting, right? She's been like such a big character. The past couple, she's just kind of shown up very quickly, and then that's been that, or she's just been like missing in action. So it'll be interesting to have one that's like focused on her. So yeah, we're gonna play that next week. Will it be a long one like Senna's and might have to be a 2-parter? I'm not sure. Could be a episode 1, could be 2-parter. But either way, this will be finished in like just a couple of episodes, which is crazy. So yeah, let me know what you guys thought of this ending, how it compared to the other ones, like what's been your favorite one so far. I would say like just for the ending of it, I think my favorite of the alternate ending so far, I really like Kozui's. Just the pure like letting the intrusive thoughts win and just like her and Takumi just going like mad was kind of fun. But yeah, that revelation at the end with Momose was pretty good. So that one, that caught me by surprise. So all right, guys, that's gonna end it for this one. So stay tuned for the Rimi ending next episode, and I will see you then. Until then, bye. Special shoutouts to my top tier patrons: Revealing Storm, Lynn's VA, Lunar, Kenju Storm, Icognito, and Bad Cat.